Hi, and welcome to the Cosmic Prayer. Yes, the intro did happen twice for some reason. That's the second week that has happened to me, where the introduction has taken over the beginning in a big way. That's okay. I obviously needed a little bit more time just to prepare and calm down and tell myself that everything is okay. And of course, everything is more than okay. Today, I am just feeling so excited and grateful that our super guest, who is here waiting in the background to come on, she's here to shine her light on her idea of prayer. Yes, you can see that the guest here today is Reverend Jean Bell, a colleague and a friend of mine. Reverend Jean is the Associate Minister at CSL, Center for Spiritual Living in Atlanta. And she served as a practitioner, a licensed practitioner in this teaching for 16 years. Wow, Jean. And Reverend Jean is, yes, the associate minister, and she serves as the educational minister for Atlanta CSL also, and has a myriad of other duties and services that she oversees for her beloved community. I'm just so excited that Reverend Jean is here. She's the author of a children's book, wonderful, called Brookie's Adventure. Oh, we're going to hear more about this. And it's a metaphysical children's book that allows children to know the truth of who they are, that God is always available. Isn't that beautiful? So join me now in saying hello and welcoming to Reverend Jean Bell to the Cosmic Prayer.
Hello,
Welcome, Reverend Jean. Thank you so much for being here.
My goodness, Laura, thank you for having me. I'm excited. And congratulations to you on the CSL Global Service Award. Oh my goodness.
Oh, thank you.
Bravo. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me put that away because I know we're going to have an amazing conversation. And welcome to the viewers that are here right now watching. I know there are people tuning in. Welcome here. Of course, we're here on Media Network, and we are shining the light of prayer today. We're having this conversation with Reverend Jean Bell. Jean, what is it about prayer? What do you believe? How do you believe prayer has informed your life or does inform your life?
Oh, wow. That's a wonderful question. So, what I found to be true for me is before I begin anything, whether it's big or small, I need to go into spiritual mind treatment. And that's what people that follow science of mind or religious science call affirmative prayer. Now, as we all know, there's, a traditional prayer where we're asking spirit for something. But in spiritual mind treatment, it is just that. It's a process. And what we're doing with that is clearing our thoughts so that we get to the reality of the thing that we desire for ourselves. So if I'm treating for something to happen in my life, I'm actually knowing that it is already an established fact. But there are situations where sometimes you just need to be still. And there's a particular quote that I would love to read to you. I found this, and
Mm.
the author is Aman. And he said, there's kind of like three types of prayer, if you will. And the three types of prayer could be considered meditation, prayer, traditional type, where you're actually talking to God. And then our form of prayer, affirmative prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment. And his quote says, in meditation, we listen to God. In prayer, we talk to God or divine intelligence. In treatment, we talk to ourselves about our oneness in God. And we remind ourselves of God's power that is already within, waiting to become the thing desired through our own creative word. So what I've found that there are times that I have moved into all three of those things, and usually treatment is what I end up with last. And so prayer has helped me
Yes.
through really tough times. And most recently, one of my goddaughters passed away in May. She was just 6 years old. And I could not wrap my mind or my heart around that. and she had a virus, but not COVID. It was another type of virus, and her little body couldn't fight it. And so when you have such pain surging through your mind and your heart, you're thrown out of balance in a way. At least I was. And so I did all three, but mainly I talked. And I know that spirit is this divine intelligence is not a person, but it is personal. And so I know that it is within me as well. So I had to find an anchor. And fortunately, by practicing the presence of spirit each and every day, you already have a foundation. Even if it's shaken a little bit,
Yes.
you have that foundation. And spiritual mind treatment helped bring me back to that power that is within me. And trust me, it took every day constantly being in prayer and in treatment to get my stability around this tragic event.
Oh,
So that's just one example how
Jean,
prayer has helped me.
I'm just taking a moment here because to hear that it's a shock to hear this news, and my heart goes out to you, Reverend Jean, to your family, to her family, and I'm sure those that are watching and listening right now are moved by this and what has happened. And in humanness, it can be very difficult to move grief and the knowing of loss
Yeah,
in humanness. And it's not to ignore that, is it? Spiritual mind treatment doesn't take that away, the human experience of that feeling of loss and grief.
absolutely. Good point, Laura. Because there were times that I wish I was in that old time religion so I could have somebody to blame. So I can say, how could you do this to me, God? Why would you take my baby from me, God?
Yeah.
Knowing that that is not the case, knowing that there's nothing to blame here, and that life is indeed internal, but that pain, that humanness that you spoke of, was still there. It was still very much there.
Yes, and I'm sure it still is, because it takes a while to process on a human level, emotionally and mentally and physically, because all of those feelings get trapped in the body and in our internal systems, and then and of course spiritually, where I'm sure if for me, when I have received news like that, to work that out spiritually on a spiritual level.
Yes. I mean, I'm going through the grief process
Yeah,
with the family. And so, it takes time. And I get angry
yeah,
and sad. However, like I said, when you have a good foundation in the principles, you have a bedrock to stand on, to lean on,
yes,
to kneel on, to lay on, you know, but it always brings
yes,
you back to center, well, at least for me. And I was angry this morning about an email that I received. And I'm like, okay,
right.
I need to go take a shower and do some spiritual mind treatment because I have to know that God is in it all. And that is why
Mm,
mind treatment is so important for me, because it helps me get back to that center, as well as having wonderful friends. I still have practitioners. I have a personal practitioner, and I have a partner who is steeped in this philosophy, and she helps me get back to center when I can't always see through the emotions that I'm experiencing. And what do I do once
thank
it?
you so.
No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, keep going. There's a lag here, so that's fine. You keep going.
I was saying that, sometimes you need to be reminded. You need to remember, remember that. And if you're in the midst of it, if you're in the midst of the emotion, that's why I really love the last couple of monthly themes that the Centers for Spiritual Living has had for the month. Like the month of May was emotions, and my goodness, that was
Yes.
a very emotional month. the month of June was body, and now we're
Body.
moving to relationships. So they really help you kind of focus in on where you are at that particular time through the talks of each Sunday. And I did a lot of reading on emotions because I was experiencing not just the death of my goddaughter. One of my mentors, who is in her 80s and had comorbidity, contracted more COVID. So that struck me hard. Although they did survive and they came through, that's through treatment, that's through knowing the truth. And then another dear
Right.
friend had something going on with their heart. So a lot of emotions were going on during that month, you know? So as we move into each phase of our lives, we have to realize that these principles and spiritual mind treatment and prayer and meditation can center you, bring you back to that divine intelligence that is within you. Yeah.
Yes, and what I love about the quote that you have put up here, Reverend Jean, is that it's not in a particular order. So in meditation, in prayer, in spiritual mind treatment, it feels like it's an invitation to really embody the three of them
Yeah.
and any other ways that we can find that will uplift our consciousness. And
Mhm.
you are a 16-year practitioner. Wow, I didn't realize that. And today I read the bio that you sent through, because I had no idea that you have been in service as a licensed practitioner for 16 years. And so how is your prayer practice for you personally? Would you say, how's that changed from the first time that you experienced maybe one of these three? How has it shifted and evolved over that 16 years?
Well, I would say in the beginning, when you're learning about science mind, like not even before you go into practitioner training, but those introductory classes that teach you what God is and how you are like a microcosm of that divine. And you don't have to pray to anything that is outside of yourself. There is nothing outside of yourself. You live, move, and have your being in spirit. So prayer shifted for me. I was like, oh, I'm not praying to something that's up there or over there. Prayer I'm doing is to know the truth within myself that God has already provided, that it's already an established fact. Wow. That took, a whole shift in my entire way of thinking about the divine. And, I hear individuals speak and they still are projecting on a deity that is outside of themselves. And so that was a big shift for me. But once I realized that all power in heaven and earth and consciousness and the world of effect was already given unto me, that was a big deal. That was a big,
Mm,
you know, there is nothing outside of ourselves. And Ernest basically says treatment is the time, the process, and method necessary to change our thoughts, to clear our
right.
thoughts of negation, doubt, and fear, and to bring about a perception and awareness of the ever presence of God in the midst of the thing we wish to be realized.
Right.
That was the point. That was the shift. That it's all about how I'm thinking to change my thoughts and my perception, not trying to influence God, because God is God all the time.
Yes.
So once I got that, yeah, that was a big deal. That was a
And I
big
love what you said, which I'm just going to say before we welcome in people, because people are leaving messages and I really want to get these messages up so that we can just that beautiful connection with those that are watching. And I just want to say, I love that piece that you said, once you got it, that the cause and the effect are within you.
Yes.
That's so powerful, because then we're not trying to change the effect from the effect place. We know to go back to the cause, the first cause, which is the divine. That must have changed, like really shifted a lot for you when you first got that.
It did, and it still does. Because remember, I'm saying I'm constantly remembering. And like this morning, I had a little temper tantrum over email. And to be reminded of who I am and who spirit is and who they are, you have to constantly pull yourself back, pull yourself back
Yes.
into that knowingness that there is only one thing going on here. However, it doesn't negate that things show up in the world of effect that you might go,
Yes.
now that's interesting. That just pushed the button.
Yes.
Oh, that rubbed me the wrong way, right? And so what am I going to do with it? Then that's where treatment comes in. That's where taking yourself and saying, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to work on me right here and right now, because that's where the work
Mhm.
needs to be done. So yeah.
So powerful. So powerful. I'm going to bring in to the comments here. I'm lagging a little bit. We have Bonnie, beautiful, is here. Bonnie Gonzalez. You have my deepest condolences. May you find comfort with your family and friends, and of course in your strong faith.
Oh,
Beautiful. Thank you, Bonnie. And Bonnie has Bonnie is your doula for grief. Bonnie is a practitioner, and she has a program here tonight, actually, every Monday, highlighting grief as a wonderful, glorious opportunity for personal and spiritual growth and development. So thank you, Bonnie, for being here and for sharing. And of course, we have Wayne. Hello, Wayne. Welcome to the Cosmic Prayer. How are you today? Great that you're here and contributing. Kindred spirits rock my world. Great, Wayne. And also, Dawn has congratulations, so deserved. Thank you for all that you do. Oh, I'm not sure if that's for me or for Reverend Jean, but we can both take that, can't we? Oh,
you deserve
I'm
it.
owning it. I'm owning it. Thank you, Dawn. So you know what? I'm going to put this comment up because Wayne has dropped this in there, and it says prayer circles. I love that, and I just thought, okay, let's bring this into the conversation. What about prayer circles? What about praying together? Do you think, or Jean, Reverend Jean, do you think, or do you know for yourself in your experience that praying together has a more kind of profound effect?
I absolutely do. On an atomic level, on a quantum physics level, aren't we vibrating? Aren't we that divine energy anyway? And can you
Yeah.
imagine when two or more, there is that New Testament thing, when two or more are gathered here, it makes it even more powerful. So yes, I absolutely do believe in prayer circles, and I believe that you should pray with someone every week. I meet with someone every Friday. Every Friday,
Yeah.
we meet and we pray for each other. And we've been doing that for over a year now. And I know that because of those knowing the truth for one another, it has wrought wonderful things in my life. So yes, prayer circle.
Yes. And I agree with you. I have a prayer partner, and we've been praying every week for probably about 2 or 2.5 years. And it's amazing when we have a little kind of gap or a space of a few weeks, how I notice within myself, okay, I know this person is praying for me and I'm still praying for this person. And yet it's good to have that connection, because I know that it just really gives me back to that place of a partner, a prayer partner, knowing the truth where I sometimes don't know it for myself.
Right. That's right. When I remember someone saying, I don't need a practitioner, I am one. I found that a little disturbing. And I'm like, okay, that's good. If you're at that point in your life,
Yeah.
I find that I want everyone praying for me, and I want to pray for everyone.
Yeah.
I want all the support. Know the truth for me. Keep it coming. Keep it. So yes,
Oh, yes. I think the more I embody being a practitioner, the more prayer I need from others, because it takes a lot to hold that consciousness as well
I wanted to read something
sometimes.
else to you that I found
Please
really.
do. Yes.
It was by Thomas Troward, and I didn't send this particular quote to you, but it's in the book, The Creative Process. And Thomas said, begin mentally to climb into a spiritual atmosphere, dropping all burdens, anxieties, fears, and doubts behind you. You will soon discover that as your thought reaches a place of peace, confusion disappears. From this inner place of peace, you speak your word, which is to become the law that whereunto it is spoken. That's powerful.
That
He
is powerful.
us mentally, because that's where spiritual mind treatment happens, in our mentality, to climb into a spiritual atmosphere, right? And at the same time, it's like dropping luggage. We just got home and we're dropping all the things that are burdening us, and how often do we not think that we should pray or treat first? That we should go and try to figure out the solution for ourselves first. But if we can just remember to take a pause and to go to spirit first, go within first, to that infinite subjectivity, that well of consciousness where all things are available to us, and allow our intuition to guide us from that point. So yeah.
Yes, and that is so poignant of religious science, the science of the spirit, as we're always reminded to go within and to not try and change the effects, not try and change the problem from the problem, because then we're
Right.
just creating another set of problems. How can we change something in form with form? So, but we haven't always been taught as young children that that's the natural place to go within. So it is a training, isn't it?
Now, that's why they call it practitioners, practicing the presence.
Yes.
Right? A good term, practitioner. Even as a minister, I can still consider myself a practitioner. I am still practicing,
Mm.
these wonderful spiritual principles, the spiritual tools. Every single day, I'm practicing the presence of the divine in my life. I'm inviting the divine into my life, that recognition. It's already there, yes, but it's like Ernest Holmes said, there's nothing to heal, only the truth to be revealed.
To
That God
revealed.
already,
Yes.
the perfection already.
So so share with us, Reverend Jean, a demonstration, something that has demonstrated for you for your life, where you know this is because you have been using spiritual mind treatment rather than trying to make it happen in the world of effect.
Okay, um, ministerial school was one thing. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't want to um, deplete my savings, and I have long-term and short-term savings. I don't want to deplete it completely, but I'm going to step out on faith and know that the money will show up, right? And I'm going to also know that I will have the bandwidth to finish it in the time that I desire to finish it in. And so, yes, the money did show up through gifts from friends that I didn't even have to ask. They asked me, how's it going? How's school? What's the tuition about? Right? And I told them. And so I started getting checks. I had a sponsor, if you will, and they provided so much needed resources for that. And it was indeed an answer to a treatment that I had done, knowing that the financial resources are already an established fact in the mind of God, knowing that I have the bandwidth,
Yes.
that right here and right now that I can take on 5 classes a term and work part time
I know.
and do all these and not be overburdened by it or distraught by it. So yes, those spiritual mind treatments for those things did come through, and they came through in flying colors. So yeah. And there's so many other experiences in my life. I had treated for the right and perfect partner that was steeped in this philosophy that shared the same likes and aspirations that I share. So all those things were um, a treatment, and I let it go. In fact, I let it go, and I said, you know what? You're going to truly have to let this one go because I don't know what this is going to look like. And sure enough, believe it or not, it was right before my eyes, and it's just wonderful the way it manifested in my life. So I was like, oh my goodness, I treated for this. I treated for this. You always get so shocked sometimes. You shouldn't. If you treat for it, you should have joyous
Expectation.
Yeah.
And what I loved was that piece that you've just said, is that piece that you just said, Reverend Jean, about how it's normally in front of our eyes. What we're treating for is normally, well, it is there. It's a shift in our perception. And the treatment allows that removal of the veil, the layer of that darkness to just dissipate. It really is in front of our eyes, isn't it?
Just like Ernest said,
We're just looking in the wrong direction.
right. Nothing to heal, only the truth to be
To
revealed.
reveal, yes.
So it's powerful, and that's why I love this philosophy. I love this philosophy. I love the ahas that I constantly get. You know, it's just, I don't know, it's just what I love. It is what I love. And prayer is a beautiful thing, especially when you treat for someone and you see the fruits of that treatment, the demonstrations, the manifestations taking place in their lives, and they come back and they tell you, oh my goodness, it happened, oh, I got it, or I got the job, I got whatever it is that it was that I desired, and they're like, thank you. I says, no, thank the spirit that is within you, because you had to accept these words to be the truth of who you are.
Yes.
There is only one mind.
Yes.
You are open to receive that which I had spoken for you. And it impresses upon the universal law. It's not I that doeth the work, it's the spirit of the living God. It's the universal law that receives the direct impress of our thoughts always and acts upon them. So that's beautiful. We can't take credit for what the universal law is doing.
And do you think that if the person who is praying or spiritual mind treatment or affirming this truth, or maybe through a practitioner, affirming this through a practitioner, the individual doesn't necessarily have to believe? Because sometimes I find I can go in and out. There's doubt creeps in sometimes. Oh, I've treated and I've let it go. And yet today I'm really, really impatient. Like, okay, why isn't this working? And yet, of course, it's working. I've seeded it and planted it and let it go. And that's my human impatience. So to what degree does belief come into this for you, Reverend Jean?
I am I'm very fond of the teachings of Jesus. And one of the things that I noticed in the New Testament is a lot of times he would ask an individual before he healed them was, do you believe that I can do this? do you believe that I can do this? And one of his most famous statements was, it is done unto you as you believe. To the degree that you believe, right? To the degree, as, that as is to the degree. So faith does have an important role. And one of my favorite New Testament was about the woman with the issue of blood, right? And she thought,
Mm,
as he passed through the crowd, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I will be made whole. Right? She didn't ask him to do anything for her. She said, if I could just touch the hem of his garment. So that required faith on her part. And so he turned
yes.
around and said, who touched me? You know, and I like to think that all of the disciples were looking at him like he's crazy. He said, like, yeah, everybody's touching you right now. What are you talking about? Right? He was like, no, no, virtue, energy. I felt energy. There was determination. There was intent. Someone touched me with intentions of being healed. And he found her and she became afraid. And he said the most kindest words to her. He said, daughter, he said, your faith has made you whole. Go, your faith. Right? Pointing out to us over and over and over again in his teachings or whatever, that it is about faith that makes you whole. Right? The same thing
Yes.
with the centurion. The centurion says, you don't have to come to my house. All you have to do is speak the word. Your word has authority. The centurion recognized that Jesus' word had authority. And so it's the same thing for us. We must come to a place within our own hearts and minds that our words have authority. When we speak, we have
Hmm.
that conviction that it impresses upon the universal law, and it is received, it is acted upon. And so, yes, faith is very important. So, back to the issue of doubt. Well, when we doubt, it's kind of like the famous analogy of putting a seed in the soil, right? The soil is the creative medium. It's the universal law. If you dig that seed up to take a look at it to see, you're delaying the process because you got to put it back in now. Now you've interrupted the process. So that's where doubt comes in. That doubt interrupts the process, right? And so if you're treating for someone, I could know the truth, but I also like to ask, do you believe that this is something for you? Can you believe with me?
Right.
Can you can you put your doubt on a shelf and have faith? Can you have faith? Right? And so when you ask individuals, can you have faith? You're asking them to come in alignment with what you're knowing to be true
Hmm.
about them. And that helps the process speed up. So they don't go digging up the seed that's being planted with doubt and fear.
Yes. Yes. What a powerful question. And asking that question to ourselves as well. Can I have faith right now? After a treatment or after a contemplation or a meditation, can I have faith in this? And that's a great kind of barometer, because then if we don't have the faith, it's an opportunity to treat for faith,
Yes.
to treat for increasing belief in faith and less doubt.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
who have we got here? Dawn. Let's just put this on. I think Dawn has just left a message thanking you for a great prayer session.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
reminding us to have faith. Yes. And
Yeah,
it is a practice.
it is. It's a metaphysical practice,
Um,
arrive at
it's a
this.
metaphysical.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, oh well, I just wanted to add, because we can get pulled by the world of effect, and a lot of what we see in the world of effect may not be what we want, or it may be hurtful or harmful or violent or putting down individuals, and it can really rise something. So it's although it's, of course, it's amazing, we have to feel our feelings and to acknowledge what's going on, and yet know the truth also, and yet believe that there is a new coming through in every moment, and that new is the opportunity of goodness and greatness and love.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that we deny what is, because what is gives us
No.
the opportunity to know something greater. With all of the oppression and the devastating things that are going on in the world, that gives you opportunity to treat for something that is greater than that, and to know something that is greater than that. I'm not. I'm sure you've already had science and spirituality with Amit Goswami, and
Oh,
one
of
of the
course, yes.
Amit Goswami is a quantum physicist, and he teaches at the Home Institutes. And I loved his class because one of the things that he said, that metaphysicians, they're all about being, and then people of the world are all about doing. He says you got to be a little bit of both. You got to do, be, do,
Do
be.
be do be do.
You got to be in that consciousness of the divine, and through meditation and spiritual mind treatment. And then when you get your intuitive type downloads, if you will, then you go out and you do. So it's not
Mhm.
about just being and being and being. You got to do and be and do and be. You get the guidance from your spiritual mind treatments and your meditation. You get guidance as to what it is that it is yours to do in this world of effect. Because we do live here.
Yes.
This is the realm that we have been blessed with. And so we can be and do, and not just know, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, it's for me, that's very powerful to remind me and to remind each of us here that are listening that we have a calling in our hearts. We have a mandate. We're here for more than just thinking about it. Something that is pushing us to do and to be, then allow spirit to guide us. I allow spirit to guide me, rather than thinking I have to be the one to try and make it happen. And it feels, for me, that feels so much more empowering, because then I can let go. And that's the piece of spiritual mind treatment that I sometimes, I'm working that, the letting go, letting be.
Absolutely. And
It's an
also,
important piece, isn't it, Reverend Jean?
is. It is. And also, the other important piece is to be aware when you're being communicated with, right? When that prayer is being answered, right? When you're giving guidance, when you're given that guidance, and to recognize that guidance, right? And that also takes practice. Like I said, sometimes it's right before your eyes,
Yes.
you know. I love it.
Yeah. Yes. So it's beautiful. And I want to ask you, we're here with Reverend Jean Bell, who is the Associate Minister for CSL Atlanta. Wow, that must be amazing. And you are the educational minister as well, creating educational programs for CSL Atlanta, which must be very exciting, because you can bring in your incredible flair and an understanding of these teachings, and must love you, um, and being taught by you at
Well,
the
I don't do
center. A
teaching.
treat.
I mean, I do some, like Reverend David Alexander is the spiritual director. He's also the CSL leadership chair right now. So he is serving our greater community, our global community, and it's the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We kind of switched the name around a little bit. Instead of CSL Atlanta, it's the Spiritual Living.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I just really kind of like pull from all the resources that we have, the practitioners, the ministers, and I schedule workshops and classes. And every now and again, I will teach a class, but normally I do
Okay.
for the scheduling. Um, so yeah, it's still a
And
lot of
you,
it's a lot of fun.
it must be because you can be really creative with how you're developing the educational portion of the center, which is so, for me, it's so important to have these teachings available in classes, because sometimes it's not easy to hear a message and then to apply it. And the classes can really help us to, it's like a roadmap through the classes, piece by piece, revealing by revealing, opening our hearts as well through these wonderful courses. Um,
Absolutely.
and there are many courses, aren't there? There are many that we can take.
Yes, I
Do,
they changed the name from foundations, but that was the whole point. That gives you the foundation, right?
yeah.
That that first introductory class gives you the foundation of what science of mind, spiritual principles are all about, and how we can use these principles to make our lives better. You were going to ask me something?
Do you give practitioner sessions?
I do. I do.
You do. So for anybody that's listening right now, how would they with you, Reverend Jean, would like a practitioner
You
session with
have
you?
my personal email address. You could put that in the chat. And
Yes,
I have
it's
no, I don't
what's
see.
your personal email address?
It's BELL4766
Yes,
at bellsouth.net.
yes. At
Yes, I could put it in the private
at
chat.
at,
Oh,
at what?
at bellsouth.net.
Bell South.
Yeah, I'm putting it in the chat for you, your private chat. You see
Thank
it?
you. Because I really want to put this up. Yes, thank you. I really want to put this up so that for people that may really feel a call to work with you from a practitioner perspective, that all you would need to do, getting back to my banners, I think I've lost it. All you need to do is connect.
Can you hear me?
A little internet connection thing going on. Yes, at bellsouth.net.
There you are.
Good.
All right, it's 4766.
4766. Of course it is. Reverend Jean, would you be kind enough to share with us about, first of all, about your children's book and how people can find your children's book? Because I know this is a really beautiful, exciting project that you have undertaken.
Thank you. Brookie's Adventure came about. It's on Amazon, so you can order it on Amazon, ebook or regular hard copy. And Brookie's Adventure came about from one of my goddaughters. I have four goddaughters, and Brooklyn, Brookie, one day was in the car. I picked her up from daycare, and I said, "What are you excited about? It's almost Christmas. Tell me all the things you know about Christmas." And she started telling me about presents and food and trees and everything. And I was like, "Well, what about the reason why Christians celebrate Christmas?" And she's like, "Reindeer and Santa Claus and snowman." I was like, "Yeah, but what about the other thing?" You know? And I said, "What about Jesus? What do you know about Jesus?" And she and I was at a stoplight, so I looked in the rearview mirror, and she's about 3 or 4. She was doing like this, and then she leaned forward. She said, "Who's Jesus?" I said, "Oh, okay." So that gave me the thought to create a children's book, but it veered away from that. And so instead of making it about Christmas or anything like that, I made the book about a child's adventure about how to find God and what God looks like. So she asked her parents, she asked her siblings, and so she goes off into this adventure. She meets a bumblebee, and the bumblebee shows Rookie what God is to them, which is the wildflowers. She meets a rabbit, and the rabbit shows her this beautiful tree with apples and nuts in the background. And then this beautiful fish, a trout, shows her that it lives and moves and has its being in this wonderful thing called water, and that she too
Right.
lives and has her being in this divine presence. And she falls asleep and she wakes up and she thinks it's a dream, right? And the fish goes on to tell her that spirit is right where she is and she needs not look any further. All she has to do is tap into this divine presence that's always there. And that she just has to be the wonderful, beautiful child she falls asleep thinking that it's just a dream, and her whole family goes on a little walk, and she sees the rabbit and the bumblebee and the fish, and she's like, "Those are that's them. They're really real." And they all wink at her as if to say, "You got it.
Oh, so beautiful.
You are." Yeah, yeah. It's a fun little
That is
adventure.
such a beautiful story.
It's a quick way of introducing metaphysics to the children. It all ends up with her falling asleep into the reality that she has everything she already needs. She needs not look any further.
And wow, that's okay. So, Reverend Jean, would you, while I have a cough here, would you please uh, guide us? Oh my gosh, my throat's just gone. Guide us through a spiritual mind treatment.
Absolutely, it would be my honor.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just take this wonderful moment right here, right now, to recognize this one power, this one divine, infinite intelligence that is in and through and shows up as all creation. Knowing truly that I am one with this power and presence, I know this to be the truth for Laura. And I know this to be the truth for everyone that is watching, everyone that is commenting. I know this to be the truth for all. One power, one presence, one life, spirit divine. And so I am grateful for this opportunity to share these wonderful verities, to receive them, to circulate them into the divine atmosphere, knowing that all is well right here and right now. All is well received, and all is in the divine light. And with a heart filled with gratitude, I simply release the spiritual mind treatment into the universal law, knowing that it is already an established fact in the mind of God. And I need not do anything but believe, have faith, and to know. And so it is. So it is. Thank you
And
so
so it
much.
is.
Thank you.
Thank you. That definitely worked on my throat. I was having a throat chucker a moment there.
Outstanding.
Oh, thank you so much for being here, Reverend Bell, for shining your light and sharing your truth about prayer. And if there's one thing that you would like to say to those that are listening, or if anybody that will be watching this later, as people generally do watch this later also, what would be your message for someone, for an individual who may not be feeling it right now, and that faith may be waning? how would you just guide them in this moment?
I would say touch that part that's within you. Go within. Just be still.
Yeah,
Relax. Just be still. Sometimes there's no words, there's no feelings. Just be still. And know that the intuition that is within you will guide you through the hardest of times.
yes,
Just be still. And that too is a form of prayer.
absolutely. Thank you, Reverend Jean.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for all that you are and all that you be and all that you are doing in this wonderful world. And there is your email address for those that would like to connect with Reverend Jean to find out more about her work, to work with her for practitioner or counseling sessions. Then just contact Reverend Jean here, and you can also find her at the center, the Spiritual Center.
Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta.
Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. So you can go to their website and find out more about Reverend Jean also and the wonderful ministry that she's ministering at.
Thank you,
As we
Laura.
are here on New Thought Media Network. Oh, thank you, Reverend Jean. It's great to be with you. And I'm sure you'll be coming back onto the program at another point to share again. That would be amazing.
Thank you.
And I'm going to pop this up here. This is the donation love offering circulatory treasure circulation link here for New Thought Media Network. Of course, we are living and breathing and demonstrating the vision of this network, which is to bring these teachings in all sorts of different ways to you every single day of the year with programming here on the network, all sorts of programs that shine through with education, with music, with entertainment, sharing, news, conversation, all sorts of ways that the teachings come through here on the network. So if this feeds your soul and you would love to be connected through that vision, then there is the link that you can donate straight into, and that is appreciated by all of us here at the network. And thank you again, Reverend Jean, for being here and being the shining light that you are and shining it today on the Cosmic Prayer. Until next time, stay in that knowing of love. It's always who we are, shining through. Love and blessings. And I'm going to get the right video there.